everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking a trip way back in time, over 2 million years ago, to a world that was wild, dangerous, and home to some truly incredible creatures. Imagine a landscape teeming with life, where our own distant ancestors were just starting to make their mark. This isn't just any story. It's a story of survival, of David versus Goliath, prehistoric style. We're talking about a showdown between the clever, resourceful Homo habilis and a real-life King Kong, the colossal ape Gigantopithecus blacki. So let's set the scene. We're in the early Pleistocene epoch in what is now modern-day southern China. The environment is a lush subtropical forest, a mosaic of dense woodlands and open grasslands. It's a paradise, but a perilous one. Lurking in these forests are saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and our two main characters. First, let's meet our ancestor Homo habilis, which literally means handyman, and for good reason. Standing at about 3 to 4.5 feet tall, they weren't physically imposing. They wouldn't win any heavyweight championships. But what they lacked in size, they more than made up for in brain power. Their brains were significantly larger than their predecessors, allowing for complex thought, problem-solving, and, crucially, the creation of tools. This is where the game changes. Homo habilis was one of the first hominins to systematically craft and use stone tools. We're talking about the older one-tool industry, simple but effective choppers, scrapers, and flakes of stone. These weren't just rocks. They were the Swiss Army knives of the Pleistocene. They could be used to butcher carcasses left behind by larger predators, crush bones to get at the nutritious marrow inside, and even shape wood into sharpened sticks for defense or digging. This technological leap gave them a massive advantage. It was like they had unlocked a new level in the game of survival. Now, for their neighbor and the undisputed heavyweight champion of the primate world, Gigantopithecus blacki. And when I say giant, I mean giant. Picture an ape standing up to 10 feet tall and weighing over 1,000 pounds. That's twice the size of a modern gorilla. Its jaw was massive, built to crush tough, fibrous plant material like bamboo, which we believe was its primary food source. For a long time, Gigantopithecus was the king of this jungle. Its sheer size would have deterred most predators, who would want to mess with a 10-foot-tall ape for millions of years. This massive creature thrived, but the world was changing. The climate began to shift, becoming cooler and drier. The lush, continuous forests started to shrink, replaced by more open, seasonal grasslands. This was bad news for a specialist feeder like Gigantopithecus. Its primary food source, bamboo and other forest vegetation, became less abundant and more patchy. An animal that big needs a colossal amount of food every single day. As the forests retreated, its dinner table was shrinking. This is where our two protagonists' paths collide in a fascinating way. While Gigantopithecus was struggling with the changing environment, Homo habilis was thriving. Their adaptability was their superpower. They weren't tied to one specific food source. They were omnivores and, more importantly, scavengers. Their tools allowed them to access high-calorie foods like meat and marrow, which were readily available on the expanding savannas. If the fruit wasn't ripe, they could find a carcass. If the plants were scarce, they could dig for tubers. They were flexible. Now, did they fight? Direct evidence of a Homo habilis hunting and killing a full-grown Gigantopithecus is non-existent. Frankly, it would have been suicide. A single swipe from that giant ape could have ended a group of hominins. However, they were absolutely in competition. They were living in the same areas, vying for the same resources. Imagine a small group of Homo habilis, armed with their stone choppers and sharpened sticks, coming across a Gigantopithecus feasting on a patch of fruit. Would they try to scare it off? Maybe. A coordinated effort with loud noises and thrown rocks might have worked. More likely, the competition was indirect but just as deadly. As Homo habilis populations grew, thanks to their successful strategy, they would have put more pressure on the available resources. They were better at adapting to the changing landscape. They could exploit a wider variety of foods, while Gigantopithecus was stuck in its old ways, searching for forests that were slowly disappearing. Think of it like two businesses competing for the same market. One is a huge, established company that's slow to change Gigantopithecus, and the other is a small, agile startup that's constantly innovating Homo habilis. As the market conditions change, the startup can pivot and adapt, while the big company struggles to keep up. Over hundreds of thousands of years, this pressure mounted. Homo habilis evolved, becoming even smarter and more efficient. They became Homo erectus, who controlled fire and created more advanced tools. This only widened the gap. Meanwhile, Gigantopithecus was in a slow, inexorable decline. Its size, once its greatest asset, became its biggest liability. It couldn't adapt fast enough. The fossil record tells the final story. Gigantopithecus disappears around 300,000 years ago, while our lineage continued, eventually leading to us. So, who won the showdown? In a direct one-on-one fight, Gigantopithecus wins every time. No contest, but in the grand multi-generational battle for survival, the victory went to the small, clever toolmaker. It wasn't brute strength that won the day. It was intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. It's a powerful reminder that in the long story of life on Earth, the brain is often mightier than the brawn. The tale of Homo habilis and Gigantopithecus isn't just an ancient drama, it's the story of our own origins, a testament to the ingenuity that set our ancestors on the path to becoming the dominant species on the planet. What an incredible story, right? It really makes you think about how our journey started. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip back in time. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and do not forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you do not miss our next adventure into the deep past. See you in the next video.